Hey everybody, this is Dan with Adventure Today. Hope you're doing great. Thanks for being here today. Well, we've got a review for you today on the Toyo Open Country AT3 all-terrain tires. Now, I just replaced the tires on my 2023 Ford Tremor at 43,815 miles. If you watched a previous video, I've got a short review on that. A little bit of noise in the background on that one. Couldn't control that too much. But those tires were fantastic. What came original equipment on the truck were General Grabber ATXs. Now, General Grabber ATXs are actually General's third generation all-terrain tire that came on that truck. And what's interesting is when you go to replace tires on a Ford F-150 Tremor, what you find are there are not a lot of tire choices in the load range of the original equipment tire, which was 116 was the load range on that. I went with E-rated tires, and I'll explain that here in a few minutes, and talked a little bit about the challenges that I faced with trying to pick out my next set of tires. But there are two tire choices in load range 116 if you're going to stick with the original equipment size, which is a 275 70 R18 tire. There's two. You've got two from General Tire. One is the General Grabber ATX, which is an off-road all-terrain tire, and the other one is the General ATP, General Grabber ATP tire, which is their on-road all-terrain tire. That's really more designed for probably, honestly, a guy like me who drives mostly on road, although I do some off-road, and when I do, it's pretty aggressive. My son and I just got back from Moab, and so even though most of my driving is on road, for those couple times a year where we may be hitting something that's pretty hardcore, I wanted a tire that was more equipped to handle the off-road situation. Plus, I like the look of the more rugged off-road all-terrain tires. So anyway, so a pretty big challenge trying to figure out a tire that I was going to go with, because I wanted to try something new. And when you start digging around the tires that are available in this size, everything is E-rated. If you want to stick with an all-terrain tire, which is what I wanted to do, everything except for those two General tires are E-rated tires. Now, in that E-rated tire space, you've got a lot of choices there. I mean, there are a ton of choices. There's great tires from Bridgestone, from Cooper. You've got them from Continental, Goodyear, BF Goodrich. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of really good names out there of tires in that range. I went with the Toyo Open Countries for a couple of different reasons. So what did I not want to give up? I didn't want to give up gas mileage. I didn't want to give up ride quality, because the ride quality on this truck with the original equipment tires is fantastic. I don't think Ford makes a better riding pickup truck with this kind of simplicity. Like, maybe you get a better ride out of a Raptor for an extra $10,000-$15,000 with those, $3,000 to $5,000 shocks that they have on that vehicle, but this is just standard off the shelf shocks on this truck, and it rides like a dream. So I didn't want to give up a ride. I didn't want to give up the gas mileage, but I wanted to maintain the rugged looks, and it's not easy to do when you're switching from a 116 to a 125 load range, which is where the tires are with load range E tires. So I went with the Toyos for a couple reasons. One is tire weight. These tires are some of the lightest tires in that load range E category. They weigh anywhere from 6 to 12 pounds less than the major competitors out there. And so, a lighter weight tire is going to benefit you a couple ways. One, probably better gas mileage, because there's less mass to get rolling every time you slow down and then want to speed back up again. Number two is a lighter tire is going to make it a little bit easier on the suspension to maintain that ride quality. And these tires are only about 6 pounds heavier than the original equipment tires that came on the truck. And so, I felt like that was reasonable. I didn't want to go with something that was 10 or 12 or 15 pounds heavier, which there's a lot of options out there that are much, much heavier tires. So I wanted to keep the weight light. The tread width on these tires is about a half-inch narrower than what was on the original equipment tire on the General Grabber ATXs. And so I thought that might offset the additional weight from a gas mileage perspective, having a little bit of a narrower tire. And I think I've achieved that. Now, there's a lot of debate out there on how much, from a miles per gallon perspective, tread composition makes. E-rated tires theoretically have a harder tread compound than a lighter weight tire does, a less heavy duty tire. What I'm finding out is that I have played a lot with the tire pressures on this, and to get the ride quality that I want, but still maintain the fuel mileage. I've got these set at 50 pounds per tire cold, and that's working out really, really well for me. I tried, 60 pounds. I tried 65. I dropped it down to 40. I thought that was a little bit too low. 44 gives me the same load rating as the original equipment tires were set at 35 pounds, which is the original tire pressure recommended on the tire that's on the A-pillar. So I found 50 pounds is a good balance. So I've got a little bit better load carrying capacity at 50 pounds. Ride quality, I would say, is within like 3 to 5% of the original equipment. It's maybe a little bit harsher in certain situations, but if you weren't the person driving it every single day, I don't think anybody would ever notice that. But by going with the load E-range tire, you're picking up a little bit of a deeper tread depth. So this has got a 16.4 30 seconds tread depth. Now I've got 500 miles on this, so it's coming out at about 16 right now on my tread depth gauge. And so let me get this zeroed out here, and I can show you that real quick. So we'll get that zeroed, and let's get a tread depth here for you. So you can see that 16 30 seconds. Is that coming in clear? Right, I can take a picture of it. 16 30 seconds. And so let's talk about the tire construction a little bit. So having a little bit of a deeper tread depth theoretically should give you a little bit more longevity with tread wear. Now, I was super happy with almost 44,000 miles on those General Grabbers. These are supposed to last 50,000 miles in the LT range. The P-metric version of this tire comes with a warranty at 65,000 miles. If I could get another 35, 40, 45,000 miles out of these, personally, I would be happy. I don't like running my tires down to the 2 or 3 or 4 30 seconds. I like running them down to maybe 5 or 6 30 seconds, and then I switch them out. And so, anyway, this is the only thing you have really between you and the road, and so keeping a decent amount of tread depth on there, I think, is important, especially if you're carrying family around and so forth. So why did I pick these tires? Well, a couple different reasons on top of what I've already talked about. One is the tire design. So this is the 3rd generation design by Toyo for their Open Country all-terrain tire, and so every time they make an update, they're making improvements. And I think this was probably, in my opinion, the biggest leap from their first version to their second version. Was a good leap, but the leap from the second version to the third version, I think, was a really, really big leap. And this tire has got phenomenal reviews out there, and almost no matter what website you go to, people just absolutely love it. It rides smooth. It is quiet. It looks very rugged. In fact, Toyo gives you 2 different sidewalls to pick from. I picked the more aggressive looking sidewall. For mine, it's got the little lines right here in the sidewall and in these tread lugs that you can see. I'll show a picture of this, but if you want to go with the more conservative, it's basically the same design minus these lines. I just thought the lines give it a little bit more character. So I kind of like that choice. I also like the fact that this has full tread depth sipes. So I'm pushing a screwdriver in here to one of the sipes, and that is how much tread depth that we have here on these tires, which it's kind of hard to do this for you, but it comes out to the same 16 30 seconds. I mean, it doesn't change at all. So no matter where I put the screwdriver in, it's coming into a full tread depth side, whether it's near the sidewall, near the inside, in the middle. These are full tread depth sipes. So I love that. There's a lot of tires out there that do not give you full tread depth sipes. Then you get halfway through the tread and your sipes start disappearing and you lose a lot of your wet traction. You're going to lose your snow traction, you're going to lose ice traction, you're going to lose rain traction. These sipes are really, really important. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting in how they designed this tire is there's several different places on the tire where they've added these layered, it's almost like a ramp in the groove and the tread wear. And so there's one right here where, you know, it's this area between this lug is closer to the surface of the tread here than it is down here. Down here, once I get down to this, I'll probably be replacing the tires. But it's exposing more tread as you get down near the bottom. I think that's really interesting. You've got another one of those right here where, you know, this is probably about half or a little bit more of the tread depth, and then you hit this ramp that provides stability to the lug, but it also provides a little bit more tread wear as you get near the end of the life of the tire. So those are in several different places on these tires. I think that's really interesting. You've got another one right here in between the outside lugs and the inside lugs. This would be the outside if this was the inside, right? And those are there really to do a couple different things. One is to provide some stability to these tread blocks, number one. Number two is they also act as sound blockers because most of the noise that's generated in a tire is generated here on the inside. And then that air, as it escapes through the outside of these tread blocks, that's where the noise comes from, as you hear it going down the highway. If you could block these, and a lot of modern tires today will have sound blockers that actually go all the way up to the edge of these tread blocks. Those you'll find more on like highway tires and SUV tires and things like that. But they do have them on some all-terrain tires. They're designed to really block that sound from escaping the inside of the tread, and so it gives them a much quieter ride. These have that too. They're about halfway, but they do a significant job in helping to, you know, block that sound. And so I think that's an interesting feature on the tire. I also like the way that these outside blocks are staggered, and there's a pretty significant stagger here. So, you know, if we're gripping through, you know, rough terrain, rocks, gravel, snow, you know, situations where you need to get a little bit extra grip, you've got those opportunities every single time about, you know, 2 inches goes by on the tire to grab some more Mother Earth to push you through whatever you're going through. So anyway, fantastic tire. I'm really in love with it. I've had 500 miles on these tires so far, and I was expecting that this, if you can see this here, where there's a little bit of a layered step down in the tread here. I think the reason why Toyo built that in was to give the tire initially a little bit of a softer, quieter ride as the tire itself was breaking in. I'm expecting this to last maybe 1,000 miles or so based on how much I've driven it so far. I'm wearing very evenly over here from the inside of the tire to the outside of the tire, all around on my tires. So, you know, that's telling me that I've got a really good alignment on the tire, number one. But number two, my tire pressure is also, you know, set pretty darn good for the weight of the truck and the construction of the tires, since that was a major change for me. And it's kind of an interesting way for you to measure that I thought that they engineered in the tire. That's my guess as to why that's in there, is to provide a little bit of a softer ride so you can measure how the tire is wearing as you first put the tire on. And then, you know, the mass of the tread block is just a smidge wider that will wear at a longer rate than this smaller area will. So anyway, if anybody else has any ideas on what that might be for, please come forward. But I'm pretty sure that's, you know, one of the reasons why at a minimum. So anyway, hopefully y'all like this review. I love these tires. They've been great so far, and I will probably do another review as I get near the end of the lifetime on them to give you an update. I know there's a lot of views on these tires out there, but I really want to give you an in-depth feeling of why I went from a load range 116 to a 125, and why I chose these Toyos. So anyway, with that, thank you so much. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.